Today we're going to be taking this nice looking house and adding permanent outdoor lights with a custom track, which will give it a professional look. Here at night you can see the final result and it looks amazing. And we're going to be doing that with the new Permanent Outdoor Lights Pro from Appeck. I tested out the first model last year, excited to see this, which has 80 lumens, increased brightness and clarity, and then it has less glare, which is really cool, and a 16-inch wall washing effect, and it comes in black or white and a bunch of different lengths. Here we have the 200-foot model. Now this also supports the new track system that they have created. So here we have these few feet of track. There's about 13 per box. And so for 4 boxes, I'm going to be able to cover the 200 feet there. And so this new model will simply just snap into the track, and then we'll be able to set this up and get it installed. Now this is either going to be a very quick installation or it's going to take a long time. I'll definitely let you know at the end, but a huge thank you to Appeck for sponsoring this video. Let's get started. Now starting off, let's check out a few more specs and what's in the box. So it does have a Kelvin of 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin with 16 million colors. It's going to look great on the house. And again, 80 lumens, which is the brightest I've ever seen. Now this has 144 lights included. It has 3 sets of lights in each of these boxes. And here is what the light looks like. So this is different than other companies. These do a dual light system where you have one that has the warm white and the whites, and then the other one that has the color, which makes it a nice small little light here. So then you have the adhesive on the back, and if you were just to pull that off, stick it up, hold that for about 8 seconds, and then you're done with the installation. So very simple to do. Now here on the cable, you can see that they are color coded, and that's because these are able to be cut, and you can then splice them at any time and add them to the ends. And there is a splice kit here. Here is the controller, so you have some buttons that you can use there. We have a remote that's included. Then here we have 4 extensions. They're about 9.5 feet long, so that's going to help you get over those gaps. We're going to be using those today. Then here you have a bunch of clips and screws to be able to get these installed as well. Now on the light itself, there isn't really any screws or anything. So if you aren't using the track, you would just put the clip on each end to have a nice permanent installation. And then you'll notice these moon crescents right here. Those are actually able to fit inside the track to help it clip in. So that's new on this model. And then going over here, you have the splice kit. So you have 3 different female and 3 different male ends where you're going to splice it, as well as 2 end caps. I've been doing some testing to see if you can do a 3-way splice, which worked. More on that in a little bit. But the cool thing is Appeck actually sells their own splice cable. So if you want to take one direction and go in 2, you are able to do that. So we're going to be getting one of those as well for the final install. And again, this is the C5106. There are a few other models that they have, but this is the Pro version. Now taking a look at the track, here it comes with a bunch of clips. So all we need to do is screw this in, and then we'll be able to kind of clip this in just like that. And so I'm probably gonna put one in the middle, one on each end to have it go from track to track, maybe add another one in there in the middle as well. So that comes with plenty of screws and clips that you will need. And the track itself is 46 inches long or 117 centimeters. Now taking a look at the strand of light, so between each light you have about 13 inches or 33 centimeters of wire. Now one thing you do need to know with the Appeck lights, they have the extension, which is a longer length. So if you're just going one after the other, there is more length between these, so it might look a little off where this is 22 inches or 56 centimeters. So last year I actually just kind of twisted these and then did them like that, and it made it so the lengths were equal. But the good news about the track is we don't need to worry about that, because we can just sit these in the track and then the wire is all hidden and it doesn't need to be perfectly tight. Now the track actually has a closer length. So here it's 13 3/4 inches or 35 centimeters. But when we're looking here on the track, the difference is going to be about 13.5 inches or 34 centimeters. So let me show you how those go in. So all we need to do is kind of clip it into place, and right there on the front we just lock in those little crescents, and now it's kind of set into place. As long as you don't tug on it too hard, it's going to be fine. And there the next one is in place, so I don't have to worry about pulling that too tight. And here if we do one going to the next string of lights, snap that into place, and then we can just tuck all the rest of that wire in there. It is just enough for that little bracket to fit in, and you have the lights in there with the proper spacing. So I think that's a great addition. Having the track would be nice if this was just the same standard as the rest of the lights. Now with the track, I won't be using the adhesive at all. I'm just gonna stick them in here and then put the track in place. And if you do need to use the little coupler here, it is a little bit too wide for the track, so hopefully you only need to do that at different ends or certain things, but you could also maybe hide it behind the track. Some things we'll be figuring out as we go along today. Let's see how we're gonna put this on the house. So here's where we're starting with the power now. We are gonna go this way and that way. To be able to do that, we will need to splice the cable. And when you splice the cable, whatever has the longest run is going to be your main run, and whatever you do the other direction is just going to be a mirror image of what this one doing. So this is light one, this is then light one. If they're white, this one's going to be white. So from here, the corner, it's gonna have a kind of cool effect. Maybe I would start typically in the back, but there's no power there, and it's just gonna be easier to start here. Now I do have this second gable that I'm going to go to, so I will need another splitter for that. So we're gonna be using 2 splitters, and then I'm gonna go in the attic here and put an extension to start right here. So that's gonna be its own little line, and it's just gonna copy what's here, which will look pretty cool. And then we're gonna go along here, and we're gonna add the track right to the outside edge of the soffit here. Now, typically I would go in further up to the house. You're gonna have a more wall washing effect, but this is just kind of homeowner preference on where this is gonna go. The other question is, will the track look good if you do it like in between the soffit? We'll see that as we get up, but let's go ahead and check out what it's gonna look like with spacing against the wall. And here's what the C5106 looks like when illuminating a wall. So here I have it on the track system. And as we get further away, it becomes less of a triangle and more of a dome shape. So typically you want to do this about 3 to 5 inches, but with the track, we're kind of seeing where we want this. And I think we're just going to go to the end of the trim. So there you can see it's a nice dome shape. It's going to be symmetrical all across the home. And of course, the further away you get, the much less of that you have. So trying to keep it pretty close is going to be a great look for the house. So here's what the track system is going to be looking like. Nice and clean, fits right into the house. It's gonna look so good in the end. So the question is, do you have it here or do you have it closer? Now here we have the little brick that comes out a little bit further. So that would be really close. It's gonna look really nice out here on the brick, but over on the home, you're gonna be further away. So if we move this up here, that's what it's going to look like on the edge. And then if we bring it into here at some point, like you could do halfway, which looks all right, it nicely hides the wires, put the lights there. I think that could look good, but then here at the corner of the brick, you may have to do something different where you separate and then have them go in. A lot of questions. Maybe a professional installer would do something different, but this is the plan. Go right here, all the way along the edge, and let's see what the difference would be on the home at night. It's right here up against the edge of the soffit. Looks pretty good, illuminating a constant flow on the house. And if you go closer, this is about halfway. And then if you wanted to go right up against it for some reason, it would look nice during the day, but a little too hot in the very corner for me. So I think that's a really good distance there, or even on the end, has a nice consistent look around the entire home. So each string of light is about 16 feet long, and you're gonna need 4 brackets for that. And then here, when you go from one bracket to the next, that is going to be the same distance of the lights from here to here. So they're going to perfectly line up, look really nice. It's been a half day so far of installation. Let's check out what I've done. So first, installing the extension cable took the most time. So put it through there into the attic. So getting into the attic, I just put the holes where I knew I needed to come out, and then I was able to pull those through. So looking in, you can see the extension cable. So I used 2 extensions here to go from one end to the other, and then I was able to fish them out on the ends. And then I went in there and wired it up to here, which I drilled a hole through, and wired it through the soffit where I could start. And then putting in the track system, I put about 2 to 3 clips per track. I'll show you how to do that next. But this is kind of what it is looking like, and I am loving how this looks. A few remaining questions. Is there anything I need to do between the gaps here to cover that up to make it look nice, as well as when we get to the end at the bottom? And here at the end of the first run, I did cut it off, and I didn't need to add an extension, so I just used some of these dolphin clips. I didn't squeeze them to make them a little bigger, put them on, clip them on each cable, and then use some heat shrink to be able to nicely finish off the end that we're gonna just tuck right in there. So this is the amount of lights I got on the house today. It doesn't look like much, but I know tomorrow is gonna be much faster. As you saw so far, it's a pretty quick process. So for the gables, I'm starting at the top and kind of measuring down to make sure that I have a nice clean edge there at the top. And then I'm putting in the brackets throughout and then there that kind of lined up. So I did measure that first. Now we're gonna go ahead and show you how I am putting these in. And the gables are gonna be the most complicated part. The rest is just gonna be nice. And then we may need to use some tin snips. This is aluminum, so we're gonna be able to cut it when we need to. The better snips you have, the cleaner the cut is going to be. So let's go up here and see how this is installed. So starting off, I'm going to put one of the clips and then I kind of measure over the 46 inches and put another clip. I want to have one clip connecting both of them so it lines them up perfectly. And then I've been putting one either here or here. I don't know if it's best on the gable to do it at the top or the bottom one, but if you put it right here in the middle, it's really hard to get that on because it doesn't flex once you have the light in there. So I'm just adding it into one of those gaps. So here we need to add another one 46 inches down. So I just kind of measure like this and make a mark. And then here I test if that's where it's gonna go. It's good. And then just with my little screwdriver, I'm going to put the screw in, and with a little force, it is able to go through the soffit. Now I'm just going to attach the wire and then snap these into place. They fit in pretty well. It would be nice if there was maybe a little more push on the top, pushing it down in the bottom. Now I am still aligning the cords. Don't need to really do that, but I like to keep it clean. I only had one or two pop off where I had to take off the track again to put it into place. But now I'm just going to make sure all the wires are tucked in there, place it on here, and then push the back in to snap into place. Now here I did it maybe a little too far down, so I might realign that, but that's pretty much all there is to it. On to the next one. So here's the first time that I've had a run where I needed to make a cut to be able to make it look smooth. So I just took my tin snips and took out a 25-degree angle there, just did the same on both sides. It's going to line up like that and fit perfectly. Amazing. So here is what I'm using, nothing fancy. But yeah, that works pretty great. And here's how that corner looked. I'm really happy. If I wanted to clean up that corner, maybe I could put some white caulk in there, but going down, this looks really good. Now you do really only have 2 brackets for each, so you could do one on the end, one in the middle, but sometimes if it's just a straight run, I ended up only doing 1 bracket on each end just so that I can save some. Very quick and easy going down this way. Now let's head to the corner. Oh, the corner. So far, the most challenging part of this process. So here is my first one. So what I did is I just lined up where I wanted it to end. I trimmed off some of this end there, and then I did a 45-degree cut each way and folded it in half, and there we have our now nicely aligned corner. Now I did end up going and picking up some of these snips. I just went with the straight ones. You could get the 45-degree, which might be a little easier to use, or both would be nice. Now, one of the things I'm loving most about the track is not having to worry about how to wire around the corners and different things and hide the wire. This works pretty seamless. And of course, this isn't too complicated of a house. I do have a bunch more corners that we're gonna get through here, but with the track, it makes this a very seamless experience. Go, yes. There we go, first corner installed. I have 4 more of these to do. Let me show you how I cut that. So here my inside corner is going to be 25 inches away. So that means I need to take my 45, and that is where I'm gonna start the cut. So we need to mark right here. So I'm gonna mark right here, and then we're gonna flip it over and go this way so that when I cut out this section, I'm gonna fold it in and this is gonna touch that, and that will be the inside corner. Be careful inside, outside, and then what direction you have this. And then on the back where you're gonna bend it, you do need to make a little cut. This is where the other ones would have worked well. I don't know why it works so well this way, but not this way. Perfect. So then we just need to bend it like this, and there we have our corner. Don't ask me how many times I had to cut that to get it right, but the important part is we are good to go on that corner. Moving on. Now once cut, I do use my pliers to kind of straighten everything out as everything is bent a little bit, but we have now finished another run. I used some of the extra corners over here, modifying that. So now here I'm gonna make sure the gable is set up correctly and then come back this way to get everything lined up properly. The scraps worked just fine there. I lined it so I had 2 more bulbs there and then going up. Now look at this, I did a turn and going up, expert level reached. And that is it for the front of the home. That actually went way faster than I thought it would. Just figuring out the corners was the most difficult part, and kind of when you're going from one side to the next. Now I do have to figure out this corner, and then I just have 2 big sides to finish up. So this is what I ended up doing for the clips and the track. So here at the top of this track, it will fit on both this and the next track. And then from there, I'll measure up about 20 inches to kind of lock the track into place. And then I'll go up to where the next bracket is going to be for the next track, which is 46 inches from the last one. So for this though, I start measuring at the top so that by the time I get to the bottom, I kind of know exactly where it's going to line up. So hopefully that helps in your journey to get these installed. So I'm rethinking where I did put the clips here for the track, because right now this is still loose and kind of sliding around. But if I would have put the bracket maybe a little closer to the light and then slid it into place, that would have kind of locked it into place because it's too tight right on the light. But maybe going where the light is and then putting the track on offset and then sliding it into place would have locked it into place better. But if you would have done it differently or have any recommendations, let me know down in the comments below. Now I do need to make a cut in the line and add in one of the couplers. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So when the power is off, this line's not connected to anything. I'm just going to make a cut about the middle just so that we can use both ends at some point. So here I do have some Klein wire strippers, which are amazing. Now there is no cover on the wire, so all I need to do is strip it. But before we do that, you take this apart, drop this one onto here, and always make sure you're using the right end. The other end is the male. This is the female one that we're gonna use. And then here there is a little squishy pad. I don't know what to call that. So we're gonna push this through before we make any cuts. I always forget, but hey, I remember today. It's pretty awesome. So in here is just kind of like a Wago connector. But now we're going to strip off a little bit. Boom, just like that. And now we're going to separate these, twist the wires. And on the outside of the wire, it's color coded. So we have blue on one side, red on the other, yellow in the middle. So I just need to open these up and we're gonna go just like so. And if they get crinkled, you may wanna pull it out and try it again. This time I'm gonna try and line them up better, push them in. And now that they're pressed in, I'm gonna snap these down and give them a good pull test to make sure they're all working. All right, now that we've pulled that piece out, we can twist this on, then we can push this in, and now we can tighten this on. And there we have added a new end. And here at the end of the line, I just used the end cap so that it is now finished and waterproof. And now I have used the Velcro to kind of have a nice end. And there is the finish. Let's see what they can do. 3, 2, 1, boom. Those light up the entire area. These look so good. I am so pleased with the results on these. The track lighting makes these perfectly aligned to the home, fit right in. You don't even notice they're there until they turn on at night. Looking excellent. So let's go ahead, look at some of the different lighting options and then show you how to create your own custom scene. So here we're in the white setting. This is kind of the mid-range white. Then we can go to the very warm Kelvin. Then we can go to the more cool white. So 100% brightness looks really good. You can even dim that down if you want to go 50%, or if you want to just have them on just a tiny bit, you can go to the 1% brightness. So you then have this scale down here at the bottom where you can scroll through and get those exactly where you want. So if I wanted to match them with the porch lights, easy to do that. These look really good. Now if I jump over to the color here, so starting off, let's go to red so you can illuminate all red. Here we have orange. Next we have yellow. Here we have green. Here we have light blue or turquoise. Here we have blue, and then a pink. And of course this has 16 million colors. So here is the color wheel down here where we can quickly scroll through all of those different options, and we can change it to a more whitish version of those. So these colors are looking fantastic. Love how they are illuminating the entire home. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do is go to different scenes. So in here, there are a bunch of options. So there's some different moods. So we can just tap on that and instantly it's changing, doing all kinds of things. So there's a bunch of these. We're not going to have time to go through them all, but looks really cool. Now, one of the things I did was split the lower level to the higher level. So essentially at the beginning of each gables, those are a mirrored image from the left to the right. So you'll see those kind of start at the same time, but it adds a really cool effect to doing those, and then it crosses throughout the entire home. So really pleased with how that is. And when I finish the left side, which I haven't yet, it's going to be the same, but you're actually not going to see that side of the home the same time you're going to see the front of the home. So this looks really cool. Now, these are some pretty fun different scenes that you can do. Now, again, there's a ton here. Let's go ahead and go to the festival. So these are some of the holiday ones you would want to do. So this is Halloween. Here we have Thanksgiving. So pretty basic standard. I think you might be able to go in and adjust some of these, or you can just go through and create your own. So a lot of these, I'm not sure if there's any rhyme or reason to what they are and why, but some fun colors to have out. So on any of these scenes, you can hold down on it and see what they are using, and you can adjust it. So here we just want to set this to the red and green, so we can actually go through and delete the yellow. Tap preview, see what that's going to look like. We can adjust different parameters here. I can scroll down, change the position it's going from left to right, right to left, and I can even increase the speed a little bit, tap the preview, and then I can see what that's going to look like. And I can tap save, and then it's going to save it right here, and I think even overwrite the one here. So if you find one that you love, you can tap on the heart, that's going to favorite it. And so really cool that we have all these different presets. Then up here at the top, we can go under collect, and there's the ones that we have favorited. And one thing I really like is at the bottom here, we can then have it cycle through these custom scenes. So you can tap the scene loop, and if I have a bunch here, you can have it set a certain time for one scene, then it's gonna automatically go to the next. So it's not the same image on your home over the evening, which is really cool. So again, going in here, tons of different scenes you can play with, a lot more than we can show in this video, but really pleased with how many different options there are now. Then we have a custom scene. So here we started creating one called Candy Cane. So how you do that is you can go to the main section here, and let's say I want to start with a all white scene and I want to do a candy cane again. So I'm going to tap the little squiggly line, which is my drawing. Then I'm going to choose a red, and for this to do every other, we're going to draw at a diagonal. So here I can just draw down, and you can see it's instantly making a candy cane pattern on the house. And when I want to go to the next level of lights, let's see, 36 was the last white, so 37. And now that we have that all set up, all we need to do is tap the little disc looking icon here, tap save, and then we can do red, white. And now we have our custom preset. If I want to change this again, let's say I want to add a green to it, I can then go up here and draw the green and save a red and green. So then under our scenes, under custom, now we have these quick options where we've preset them. We don't have to go back in and program them, and they're there. Some of the other things we can do here is do some spot lighting or security lighting where we have just different points of the home lit up instead of every one. So here I have all white, but I want to do every other. So I'm going to grab the eraser and I'm going to do the same thing. And this one, there we go. And so there I can go through and have a nice subtle look on the home instead of have every light lit up. So those are the different scenes, the custom things that you can do. And then you even have the music option. So here, just as I'm talking, you'll see it kind of play. I can increase the intensity. Let's go ahead and play some music. And as we change through this, it will adjust the different patterns that are playing. You can increase the sensitivity to have it punch a little bit more. Not much happening with jazz. Classical is the most intense one. Here's scroll. Energy. And spectrum. And on that spectrum, I'm not seeing too much happening, but a fun way to utilize the lights with some music. And then in here we have the option to go in and create a plan, so we can have the lights automatically turn on and off at a specific time, and it will just set to the previous preset that you have already programmed. And so that is how you can use the Smart Life app to be able to control the lights. And when you're all done, simply tap the power and then they're off. Now, one other thing you can do in the scenes is create a custom scene. So if we go and add one here, we have a bunch of different presets. So the first thing that we might want to do is go ahead and choose our colors, and depending on what type of scene, a paragraph or a segmented scene, you'll have different colors. So let's go ahead and add a few, and we just tap on here and then choose the color over here on the side. So let's create just a few different colors here. There you go. So now that we have our colors, we can tap preview and we can see what this is going to look like. So it just takes the colors that you've chosen and spreads them throughout the house. So you can see all those nice colors. If you scroll down, sometimes you have different animated colors as well. We'll get to that. So here we have a gradient, tap preview. There we can see it's doing this flow on the gradient. And if we scroll down here, we have different scenes. We have one called jump. So here's just gonna jump back and forth between the different colors. Here we have breathe. It's just gonna breathe the colors, bright, dark, and change between them. Here we have flashing, as you expect, gonna flash, turn on and off. Then next we have flowing. So this is gonna flow from one color to the other. And to see what it really does, we can speed it up to 100%, tap preview, and then we can get a quick idea of what's gonna happen. So it's gonna do one color all the way to the end of the house, start the next color at the beginning, go all the way to the end of the house. Here we have rainbow. So it's just gonna slide through those colors. This one's called meteor. So it's gonna start at the beginning and then it's gonna turn all the way around the house to the other end. Now there's some other options here. We have meteor shower. So if we tap preview, it's gonna do multiple colors doing a shower throughout the whole house. And then we have magic meteor. So it's gonna do a combination of all the colors. And this is looking so fun. Love how this lights up the entire home. All right, so this one's called pile up. So it's gonna send one light at a time to the end, and at the end it's gonna stop and pile up until it has filled all the way up in the whole house. So let's go ahead and turn this all the way up and watch it do its thing. And as it gets closer to the beginning of the house, it's going to take less time for each light, and then it's changing the colors as it goes through. And here's it gets to the end, it gets really fast. And then it starts over. So that's a pretty fun one to have. And of course, that is the fastest speed. Next, we can do one called falling. So this is gonna do something similar as the pile up, just in big segments at a time. Here we have one called follow. So it's gonna do one color followed by the next. Here we have flutter. So tons of different customizations here, and again, we're on the fastest speed. We have flash, rebound. So it's gonna do some ping pong back and forth on the house. Shuttle. So here we have random, where it's flickering all kinds of different colors back and forth. And then here we have switch. So it's gonna start at both ends, it's gonna hit, bounce back to the end. And then with each of these, once you find one you love, you can tap save and it's going to add it to your custom scenes. And that is the Appeck Outdoor Permanent Lights Pro with their new track system. I think this is an incredible system. It looks so good, ties into the home perfectly. During the day, you don't even know it's there, and then at night, it just lights up and looks amazing. You know, I've put on a bunch of these different lights before, and every time I'm like, I wish I couldn't see those wires, and this solves that problem, and it looks so good. The install process was very seamless. It went pretty quick, did take some time just because I was learning to do it and had to cut the aluminum here and there, but overall, love how it looks. Of the entire system, the only thing I would like to see is the splicing connectors to be smaller so they could fit in the track. But I think I'll use my own little connector to be able to do that. And this came with plenty of different extensions and plenty of string. Right now we have 150 on the house. We're gonna add the other 200 feet, and this is going to be an Appeck system. And now we no longer have to put up Christmas lights every single year. So if you want to go and check out the Appeck Permanent Outdoor Lights Pro, make sure you check out the link down in the description and pick up that track as well, because it's going to make these lights look amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you go and brighten up someone's day.